what to do.
I like this podcast. You know why?
Why?
I wish Spencer was in here.
Why?
Spencer always, I won't go into detail, but Spencer would get on to me. He'd be like, man, why do you watch that stuff? Like, there's...
Guys, welcome back. It is the Built by Vitality podcast. I am your host, Steve Pinkerton, and I'm sitting next to
Philip Lewis.
My guy, Philip Lewis. Philip Lewis just woke up from a little siesta. He opened today.
Correction. I never took a nap.
Oh.
I left, ran a couple errands, came back, came to his office just to say good morning, and he said podcast 2.5 minutes. I said 10:04. Let me check the camera.
What is the rule that you usually have with podcasting? We don't do it on the days.
Every other Tuesday when I open.
Yeah. And why is that?
I just...
You don't function well?
Yeah, I don't feel good on those days.
You look good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I just don't feel good.
I'm looking for a lot of feedback today from you.
Okay. What are we doing the podcast on?
Exactly my point. Okay. So, now more than ever, I think trying to protect our time is very important because I've seen so many business owners and athletes mess this up worrying about things that are outside of their control. And there's a lot of things going on right now that are outside of our control. So as I was sitting in my office and thinking about a couple things, I just started kind of brainstorming, and 4 pages later I said, boom, let's talk about this. We're going to try and keep it into a sub 90-minute session, but we'll see. Time is that one resource we can't beg, borrow, steal more of. But the great thing is we choose how we spend it. So today's episode, we're going to talk about some strategies on how to manage this and how to better prepare mentally for this process. The first one is guarding your time. Derek Sivers wrote a couple books that I read. Smart guy, big-time entrepreneur, super, just a very intellectual person, and the way he breaks things down it always made sense. And he said something in this book that I don't know why I never thought about it before, but do you often find yourself when you're asked to do something or to spend time doing something that you really don't want to do it, but you end up saying, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that, almost because you don't want to. I
used to.
Okay.
I don't do that anymore. I do, but it's like 90% of the time I don't do that anymore.
I think I
used to be really bad at that.
Yeah.
Where I just stack stuff so much that I'd be on edge, stressed out. If I did get it done, it wouldn't be to like its fullest potential of what it could have been. Like, don't matter what it. Yeah, just I didn't enjoy it.
He said the change that he did that changed his life was when he was asked to do something, if it wasn't an immediate, hell yes, I want to do it, it was a no. If he didn't immediately get excited about it, it was a no. And it made so much sense to me because so often we become concerned with letting people down or feeling like we have to do certain things that we stack our time with things we don't enjoy doing.
Like a cold plunge.
Well,
so
that's
I had
tough.
to just guard my time last week. Well, it wasn't really my fault.
Well, I don't know when it becomes something like that we can apply that. Because the funny part, when I wrote this, I said, Philip's going to bring up the cold plunge. He's going to say,
that part out.
Well, wait a second. I don't want to work out when you guys work out. I feel like I have to. Okay, well,
I do. I just don't want a cold plunge all the time.
I don't want a cold plunge and get better at life. I just want to be mediocre at life.
Here we go.
I don't want to hook grip and be strong.
I'm cutting this part out of the podcast.
But I thought that was very interesting because we could all learn from that. And it sounds like, you've already started to do that. For me, it took a long time. It took a long time to understand that, again, we have a finite amount of time. We have 24 hours in a day. If we spend, and let's say you're working, we're here 10 hours a day. And we sleep for 8 hours a night. Well, that leaves us with 6 hours that we have to play with. I don't want to spend 80% of that time of those 6 hours doing things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be a little selfish at some point and say, you know what? No, I would rather not. And maybe it's because we don't want to let someone down, or we don't want to disappoint them or whatever. But like you said, if you're spending time with me and you're doing something you don't want to do, I'm probably not going to get the best version of Philip.
Yeah.
You're not going to look forward to.
I'm not going to look forward to going over there.
Yep. And so I think if I say, hey,
forced to do something, or you're like, I already said I'll do it, so I got to go. You're just dreading it the whole time.
Yep. You're not looking for, it's almost like, it's Tuesday and you're already saying, Saturday, I got to do this. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So it already starts to consume some of that, some of your headspace.
And some people call people like this guy, what's this guy's name again?
Derek Sivers.
People will say somebody like that selfish. I would say a lot of people think he's selfish. I don't. I think he's smart. He knows what he likes to do, knows what he doesn't like to do, and he knows that you have a limited amount of time, and you have, like you said, you have to guard it.
I completely agree.
So I think somebody like him would be much happier living that way.
And think about it. If you're only doing things you're excited about, now that doesn't mean every single day you're going to be doing exciting things, but it just means that when you're not doing the things you're excited about, you have your time to do whatever you want. And maybe for you, that is sitting down reading or watching TV and just unwinding that way. There's nothing wrong with that. I think people on the other side of this say that, I've got to be doing something productive all the time. Well, I don't know. If you work 10 hours a day, is it okay to go home and be unproductive for an hour?
It's okay.
Is that okay? I think that's perfectly normal. And you get people that can't ever let go. And my wife is one of those. Jess cannot sit still and not be doing something. She feels like she's always got to be doing something productive. And I think that you got to recharge the batteries, man. Turn it down, shut it down. So I think that's step one of guarding your time, and that's a really good, very simple litmus test you can do to do that. Number two, be disciplined with what we allow ourselves to worry about. As I said, we're in a unique time. I don't know that there's ever been a period of time where people were so consumed by so much fear, and we've ever monetized that fear the way that we are now. It's super simple to fall in the trap of being afraid of all these different things and constantly having that consume our thoughts.
Yeah.
If you turn the news on, what are you going to see? If you turn social media on, if you talk to anybody, what are you going to get?
It's almost everything's negative now.
Yeah.
Or something to scare you or try to scare you.
And we've all got these triggers that, like I said, maybe it's social media, maybe it's a TV, maybe it's a group of people or whatever it is. We need to be able to remove those triggers, because all that does is put this in this highly emotional state that takes away from our ability to worry, to be concerned or worry about the things that we can control. Our families, our businesses, our own lives. We spend all this time worrying about
other people
and things we can't control. Now, I'm not saying
there are people scared to death about stuff going on right now, and it's literally affecting their personal lives of stuff they can control. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like people, what's today, the
19th?
I don't know, maybe the 19th, yeah. So what's tomorrow, the inauguration?
Yep.
So people's probably sitting at home stressed out about what's going to happen, if people are going crazy or what. You can't control that. Just go to work, hang out with your family, do your thing, control what you can, relax.
Did you talk to the Secret Service this morning?
I did.
Did you
They're
give them some
good.
advice?
They're fine.
Yeah. What do we want to do? Look, I'm not saying that we need to be uninformed. That's not what I'm saying. My trigger was the news. It doesn't matter. I don't care what your political view is, Republican, Democrat, Independent.
Just relax.
I don't care.
Chill out.
None of it, no matter what outlet you're watching, you're going to have a trigger that could cause some problems. And I think that you just got to be careful. In what I found was my trigger was the news. I would turn the news on, and I would get emotionally invested into whatever they were saying and whatever I was, and then I would talk about it a little bit, and it'd make me more emotionally invested. And before I knew it, I was worked up about it.
You just get suckered into it.
And it's silly, everyone's peddling their views with zero chance of changing anybody else's.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're so adamant about trying to impose our will on everybody else, when the reality is, man, what's it matter?
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter. We can still have conversations. We can still be friends. We can still do that. But if we look at this as a us versus them, and we're in a constantly triggered, highly emotional state, now I'm not listening to what you have to say. Now I'm just thinking that everything that you're saying
a comeback
is an attack against me.
Yeah, and you're trying to think. You're thinking of your answer before the person even finishes.
So find your trigger. Figure it out. I will give you a hint. It probably has to do with TV or social media. And just try and remove yourself from those scenarios to where they get triggered. Or do it. And if you're saying, "Oh, I don't get triggered by that," okay, and that's a possibility. But do this. When you are scrolling through your feed, tell me if you find that your heart rate's getting elevated, you're having some type of emotional response related to anger or whatever. And if you are, then that's a trigger. And most of us will find a trigger within that.
And think about it, just because I used to be this until, I don't know, the past couple of years. Most people go to a job every day that they hate. But they got to pay bills, especially the older you get. If you got a family, you got to provide for bills, you got to pay. You got to go. So unless you just somehow find something else. But as soon as you lay down, people are already kind of have some anxiety or some stress. They're like, I gotta do this tomorrow. I gotta do this at work. I get up at this time. They're getting stressed out when they set their alarm that night. Mm. Then they are stressed. They're on edge from the moment they wake up until they get off work that day. They just are unhappy for 10, 12 hours maybe, and on edge. Then say they get in traffic on the way home. They're on edge again. Somebody cut them off. Somebody whatever. Kids calling, wife, husband, whatever it is. Then maybe you get home, you scroll through your phone, if you haven't already been, most of us are through the day, and they see nothing but negative stuff or something else that triggers them on their phone. So for 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, whatever it is, you are a ticking time bomb.
Yep.
And you got to do nothing for yourself, nothing you enjoy. You were just on edge Monday through Friday. And then Saturday or Sunday comes, and you're in such a hurry and on edge all week that you made plans. You agreed with somebody that you shouldn't have. Maybe it's a girl you just started dating, guy, whatever, something. You're like, I don't want to really go do this weekend. Then you have a bad weekend, and before you know it, you're back to the ticking time bomb on Monday. So if you got a job and stuff like that during the day, you got to take the social media or something else out after work. Just delete it. Don't even look at it.
One thing that helped me was turn my notifications off, because I found myself trying to get some work done, and it takes me a minute to get locked in on something, whether it's programming or something to do with one of the businesses, and I'm trying to get locked in. And just about the time you get locked in, something will ding, and it's a notification from Facebook or Instagram or a phone call. And odds are one of those three things are going to be a trigger, and it's going to take me away from my ability to complete what I was going to do. And the last thing I'll say about the media part of this is, when I say about monetizing the fear, it's all about eyeballs. People are trying to get eyeballs on whatever it is that they're peddling, and they do that through fear. They want to scare people into paying attention. Yeah. And look, this thing is a scary virus. It is. But you know what makes it really scary? When it's constantly at the forefront of every single conversation and every single thing that you read has to do with something bad.
Yeah.
Imagine this. Imagine if you took the stance and said, we're going to highlight every single person that's recovered from this virus. We're going to tell this amazing story about resilience, whatever. And you did the 99% of the people that recovered from this. Instead of just scaring people into showing the absolute worst that could happen, I think you'd have a different outlook on it.
You can do that with anything. Just take the coronavirus out of it. Just say you woke up every day and the first thing you seen on the news, the first thing on Facebook, Instagram, well, no matter what it was everybody that day prior, the prior day or that morning or whatever it is that died in a car accident.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh my gosh.
I don't want to
Steve,
drive.
Can you pick me up? Oh, I don't even know if I want to pick me up. Steve's a terrible driver. I don't even pick me up. So I'd be like, you'd be freaking out if that's all you see all the time. I'd be like, man, I'm going to have to work from the house.
But imagine if you saw every morning, you saw Philip's Roxy.
Yeah.
Jumping all over Philip, lapping him up, licking his face.
She's on my seat while I'm driving.
Yeah. You'd be laughing and smiling. And it'd be crazy.
No,
I wouldn't subscribe to that. I would probably unfriend you.
That's true.
But just keep in mind that there's a reason why all you see is negative things. That's what sells. Yeah. All right. So don't get sucked into that. And surround yourself with people that are going to feed off that fear they're trying to entice out of you. So number 2 is identifying triggers. Ensure that you stay on task and not getting sidetracked every 20, 30 minutes. Number 3, stop obsessing over the competition, over other people. This is more, as I say this out loud, I would say it's business related, but this is just as much athlete related. When I opened Vitality in 2009, I was always concerned with what everybody else was doing, how they were doing. Did they have a better month than me? Do they have more members than me? Was their coaching better than mine? Was their programming better than mine? Were they going to lease the space a mile away that I drove by and it said, now available? It was constant in my head. I always was worried about what everyone else was doing. And when that happens, what am I not worried about? What am I not doing? Yeah. I'm not worried about what
you're not focusing on your stuff.
Yeah. It took me years to deal with that and get better at that. And that's still something. Nobody's perfect. There are people like, oh, I don't worry about anything but me. No. If you're a small business owner, I promise you're still worrying about stuff. You've just been able to compartmentalize it in a way that you can deal with it a little bit better.
I found that when I'm doing, just say, making a video or something, I used to follow nothing but these guys that had just just awesome videos. But all they do is ever post their awesome video, their awesome work. But if I messaged them or went to a YouTube channel or something, I couldn't figure out how they're doing this. I'm like, it's awesome, but how are they doing this? How'd they figure this out? Then I started finding random guys here and there that would post really good stuff like that. But on the back end, they'd be like, well, check out this video. I'll show you how I did it. Those are the guys I want to be around or hang out or see. I became overwhelmed with looking at these other ones and trying to I would never figure it out. So I quit following those guys, and now I'm with the other ones.
And what'd you do? You put time into
over it,
figuring out your craft, putting things in place so that you could get better at the process.
Yeah, instead of just looking at somebody else's and stressing out.
And that's what people have to understand. I realized that competition was a good thing.
Yeah.
The more people that did what I did, evolved my business. You know what it did? It made me hungry. It made me more focused. What was I worried about? If I thought that Philip had a gym a mile away and I was really worried, I would say, okay, well, I wonder if his client experience is better. Well, guess what? The only way to do it is make mine better. So now evolve my process, evolve my systems. And, you run a Google search. 68,000 people live in the area code 28027. 68,000. That's just one Zip code. One zip code.
What zip code is that?
That's Concord.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy. So 68,000 people. If I had 1% of the population in that one zip code, I almost would not be able to service those people. It's too many. So there's plenty of potential clients. What we need is more people aware of fitness. So cool. Let 5 other gyms open. They're all going to have this pocket of awareness that's going to spread all through that zip code. And sooner or later, people are going to start looking at gyms, looking at individual gyms. In 2009, CrossFit clients would show up. They wouldn't look at anything else, no other gyms, because there weren't any, and they'd join your gym. Now, what do people tell us? Hey, I'm trying you guys out along with some other ones. Just want to see what the best fit is.
Yeah.
Totally get it. And I'll say, hey, here's 3 or 4 that I think you should check out and make a decision that's best for you. And now people are doing the research. So competition's a good thing. It improves the product. Think about this analogy. Let's say me and you, we go to a track workout. There's 5 of us. 2 of them, not us, are incredible runners. The other 3, me, you, and we'll call it Aggie, the 3 of us are not good at all. We're actually not even average. Yeah. Okay? So use your imagination, which is pretty true. Now, when we do these track workouts, what do you think happens? There's a huge gap between the top 2 and then us, me, you, and Aggie. That gap is huge. The skill gap. But what do? We start paying attention and saying, well, wait a second. What are those 2 really good runners doing? Oh, they're stretching before they work out. They're stretching after their workout. They're doing a really good warm-up. That's crazy. I want to start doing that because they must be really good and it must help them. So now all of a sudden, over time, those bottom 3, us, we start to get a little bit better. We start to close the gap. Well, now 3 months later, we're doing these workouts with these 2 guys, and the gap is closed. So what are these two guys saying? Well, wait a second. These guys are getting pretty good. We better pick it up a little bit. Now they try and increase the gap again. Now they start picking it up. So competition, I mean, the bottom feeders like me, you, and Aggie, we're going to catch up.
I don't like this story.
You don't like
anymore.
that? We're going to get caught up. And when we do, we start knocking on the door of those top 2. Those top 2 are going to start, they're going to start pushing a little bit. So competition, it brings everything up, everything. And the more I'm concerned about that, the less I'm worried about what I should be doing to get myself better. And I think that's one way to look at this is stop being afraid of it, embrace it. Be happy that you've got someone else that's out there talking about fitness or talking about whatever your business is, doesn't matter what it is. You know, you've got more people, more competition. People are now, they're getting out and about. So number 3 is just stop worrying about the competition. You worry about yourself, everything else will take care of it. Step 4, be an independent thinker. Solve problems. Be a problem solver. Too many people are waiting for someone else to make decisions for them. Nobody wants to make decisions. They have this thought paralysis where each decision takes an exorbitant amount of time and effort and just bandwidth of your everyday lives to make one decision. And we end up never making decision. We just are constantly in the process of trying to solve multiple problems. And, you know, they're so afraid of making the wrong choice, they make no choices. And in the Marine Corps, in war fighting, they teach us what George Patton said, hey, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. And that, to me, applies to everything. And it doesn't say a crappy plan executed now violently.
A good one.
It says a good plan.
Yeah.
Okay. If you wait for, in the Marine Corps, we talked about this, like 80% solution. You give me 80% of the answers and we'll make a decision. But if I wait for 100%, by the time I get 100%,
it's too late.
The factors have already changed, and now that decision isn't going to be relevant anymore. And the outcome won't be what we want. So I think that's just a really good motto to live by is, look, take as much information as you've got and violently execute a plan, the best of your ability. So, you ever heard that before?
No, I like that.
I like it too. One way that I think we can improve our ability to be problem solvers or independent thinkers, however you want to say that, is playing the what if game. The what if game was something that we did in the Marine Corps all the time. It was trying to figure out what the biggest concerns were and what potentially could happen, and try and put some things in place to problem solve those before they happen. So the what if game, that's something that every business owner right now, especially in the climate we have going on, you better be playing that game. If you're not, start today. And that's simple. It's what if my business gets shut down in 2 weeks? What if 2 of my coaches get COVID at the same time? These are things that have a high likelihood of happening. And if I don't walk the dog on this before it happens, then we end up making knee-jerk emotional responses or emotional reactions to these problems. And in the Marine Corps, it was even easier. It was, hey, what if we get hit with an IED at this intersection? What do we do? What if we take small arms fire from this house that we know has a bunch of kids in it? These are things that you constantly what if, so that when they do happen or when something similar happens, you've already thought through it. Why do they talk about preparation? What if there's a fire in your house? Do your kids know what to do?
I like this podcast. You know why?
Why?
I wish Spencer was in here.
Why?
Spencer always, I won't go into detail, but Spencer would get on to me. He'd be like, man, why do you watch that stuff? Like, there's certain things I'll watch on YouTube or I'll Google or maybe a movie or something. He's like, what's wrong with you? Why would you watch that? Well, perfect example. If I'm ever in that situation, it won't be a knee-jerk reaction. I can kind of respond to it because I've seen it before.
Now, okay, if Spencer was here, he would tell you what the problem was with the movies you were watching. But yeah, I don't disagree. They all, these scenarios will help us make an actionable plan much more efficiently and faster than if it's the first time we ever dealt with it, But you got to play the game. You got to mess around and say, we've even messed around in here and said, if someone comes in right now and they've got a gun and they come into the gym, what do we do? And we talk about, okay, well, what
would I do, or like what would?
Yeah, we mess around down there and say, what's the best weapon? Me. What's the what would you use? How would you respond?
Get behind you.
Yeah, there you go. Use me as a human shield.
Just get behind you. Figure it out.
And that's an extreme case. But what I'm getting at is, you've just got to. The more you can talk through those scenarios, the better you're going to get at coming up with plans. Because I might say, oh, I'm going to pick up a 2.5 pound plate, and you're going to say, dude, he's got an AR. What are you going to do with the 2.5 pound plate? You're going to run.
Yeah.
And, until you walk through that, or until you say, hey, there's a fire in the women's locker room, where's the closest fire extinguisher? What's your answer? Exactly.
Yeah,
you have no idea.
Done that. Yeah.
It's right next to the drinking fountain.
Well, I knew that.
You did?
Yeah, I knew
you
that.
You did know that. Okay.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
He had no idea. So, those are all things that...
You threw me off when you said women's. It just threw me off. I was like, wait a minute. Should I know where the fire extinguisher is in the women's bathroom?
Does he know that I was in the women's locker room last week? How does he know this? And to be honest, I'll get in trouble for this, but that's okay. I wish the government and the local health professionals would have played this game, because what did I hear for months and months and months about the virus? I heard that the cases were going to increase in the winter, it was going to be a really tough time as a country once the winter came here. The hospitals were going to get crowded.
They knew it.
All I heard was
9 months
for
ago,
months
whatever.
and months and months and months. So guess what? They were right. The cases increased. The hospitals got crowded. And somehow, these professionals in the government seem surprised by this. There is no plan. There's no overflow plan.
No.
There's no, hey, we should put this in place so that when our hospitals do get overcrowded, we have a plan there. And again, I am way outside my lane here. And I'm sure someone's going to say, well, we did talk about that. No, I don't think you did. I don't think you.
If you talked about it,
the
you
right
didn't
people,
do nothing
no.
about it. Yeah.
You know, this was something we offered Vitality back in April and said, hey, if you need an overflow, we're closed. Do you want to talk through what this would look like to make this as a triage center? Because I thought they were going to start looking for local places that were big warehouses that they could service the overflow. But it was never discussed, or it was never planned. And now I wish they would have, instead of trying to scare everybody about it, they actually tried to invest time to put a plan together instead of making these knee-jerk emotional reactions that were the driving force to solve these problems. Well, let me tell you something. When you mix emotions with problem solving, nothing good comes of that. You cannot make a good decision when you're emotionally one way or the other, high or low. And I'll give you a more obvious scenario that I think will break this down, really what we call Barney style in the Marine Corps. You know, you tell me for a month, you say, hey, I am almost positive our local gas station is going to run out of fuel. They're not going to have gas. I don't know when, but I think it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Not tomorrow, but 2 to 3 weeks. And the next closest gas station is an hour away. And you are convinced. So you do some independent research on your own, and you come back and you're like, man, I'm even more sure this is what's gonna happen. I say, okay, cool. 17 days later, we drive by the sign on the gas station, no more gas.
Great.
No more gas. You have 1/8 of a tank of gas, and you run out 2 days later on your way back from work. You have 2 other vehicles. Your family has 2 vehicles. Those are both under a 1/4 tank of gas. You have no extra gas at your house, and now all 3 of your vehicles are empty. What in the world does that teach us? You knew the potential for that to happen was high. If you would have sat through and said, what if I'm right? What do I need to do? What plan do I put in place? You would have made sure all your vehicles were topped off with gas. You would have had some gas cans in your garage filled with gas, and you could have weathered the storm for, 4, 5, 6 weeks. But instead, all we did is you tried to convince me and scare me and do all that nonsense, and you never took any action about it. And now here we are with no fuel. I don't know that it's that much different than what's happening right now, where everybody said, hey, hospitals are overran. We're not going to have room. They were right, but there's nothing. You can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. The people that could do something about it didn't. So
We're the
now,
ones that said it was going to happen.
So now what's going on? Now we're making knee-jerk reactions, and everyone's having to pay the price for it. So it's just too bad. I think that what that last point talks about is identify the surprises and mitigate those issues. Put a plan in place. The fewer surprises that we have on a daily basis, the better off we're going to be. Would you rather know? And my kid, Charlie loves surprises. She was hanging out with me this weekend without mom, and I said I had 3 surprises for her throughout the weekend. She must have asked me 1,000 times, is this a surprise? Is this a surprise? Is going to the gym the surprise?
Did she
That's
really
not a
have
good
a surprise?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was taking her over. I let her see a puppy, one of the new puppies, and she loves puppies.
You're getting a puppy?
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
Steve,
not.
you should. We'll name it Roxy.
One of our upcoming podcast guests, Jason Benham, has a puppy, a brand new puppy, so we went over there. But kids love surprises.
Yeah.
As an adult,
I like surprises.
Okay.
Well,
I don't like surprises. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to be surprised.
I don't want a surprise.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I don't.
In most scenarios,
You don't
surprises
like it.
are not a good thing,
No.
especially at work, and that's where we spend the majority of our
If you're
time.
a kid, you're at school, surprise would be good. If you're at the house, it's good. It's always good.
Well, think about it this way. If
Usually.
you spend 10 hours a day at work, 8 hours a day in bed, 18 out of 24, I don't know what that percentage is. I should know that. Now I feel inadequate. But let's say that's 80%. 80% of the time, you don't want surprises when you sleep.
That's right.
And you don't want surprises at work.
I had a surprise when I slept last night.
Do I want to know what that is?
It was just a nightmare. It's a nightmare. What did you think it was going to be?
Just so you're aware, my blood pressure, my heart just stopped. So I was like, okay, there goes our PG podcast.
What else would it be? I just had a nightmare.
It's you, Philip.
It was terrible.
It's you.
No.
When Philip
I woke
Lewis
up
says,
sweating.
when Philip Lewis says, I had a surprise in the middle of the night, I'm like, okay,
Oh,
well,
my gosh.
here we go. We just lost half our viewership. So anyway, guys, so that's just my ramblings on, those four things. Guard your time, identify triggers. Number 3 was stop worrying about the competition, stop worrying about other people. And number 4 is simple. It's mitigate the surprises, identify those things that could potentially cause you problems and deal with them before they happen. And cool, guess what? If Philip, this scenario I used with you with the gas, let's say you were wrong. What's the worst thing that happened?
You got some gas.
You've got some gas. You've learned some things that will help you if something does happen in the future. And those are only going to be good, positive outcomes. So anyway, I probably should have steered clear of the pandemic talk, the virus talk, but I think that.
Well, you can relate that to a lot of things.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what that issue is. When the pandemic's over, guess what? There's going to be something else.
Yeah.
There's going to be something else that will trigger our emotional reactions if we're not.
We've all seen the
aware of it.
person at the gas station that keeps putting air in the tire that's about to blow. Like, you're like, dude, you got to get a new tire. Like, it's
Yeah.
you can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, they're on the side of the road and
Yeah.
they can't go nowhere. Like, they could have just fixed it, patched it, got a new tire, but they keep pumping that air in there, spending 50 cents or whatever. It doesn't fix it.
Yeah. It's not, the Band-Aid, you might need something more than just a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
You might need the old tourniquet.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Sign up for notifications so that every time Philip posts a new video, you can watch it.
I'm still thinking about the nightmare.
Jeez.
It's terrible.
Guys, have a great day.